Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about just because I don't like an idea, it doesn't mean that that idea isn't actually true or right. Before I get into that, again, please like, subscribe, comment if you get something from this, and if you'd like to help me out financially, check out my Patreon page. All the links are down below. You can also do one-time donations if you just want to throw a little support my way one time, and I really do appreciate that. It really does help out and make a difference. So today we're looking at this idea about just because I don't like an idea or something like that, it doesn't mean that it's not true. Many of us have sort of sacred beliefs or ideas, and these often were formed before we really had rational thinking as part of our thinking process. Science tells us that children don't really have that fully developed frontal lobes of the adult, and not that many adults think rationally, oftentimes they don't, but they're perhaps better able to do that. But when we're very young, a lot of our beliefs and ideas are formed, and they're formed from our experiences and the people who are around us. So if you'll notice, most people who grow up in a Hindu household end up being Hindu. Most people who grow up in a Christian household end up being Christian. Same with the Muslim faith, Buddhism, all of these different things. So it's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence that the ideas that we're surrounded by when we're young and that we're encouraged to adopt are the very ones that very often we end up adopting. I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but if we aren't careful, we adopt some points of view and ideas that actually can be quite limiting and ultimately even harmful to ourselves. And so one of the things we want to do on a spiritual path is to examine those ideas and to really see if every single thought, every single idea I have is actually true. Now, part of this is being able to entertain or look at ideas that we might not want to look at or that we find repulsive. And it's not an easy thing to do, and many of us have certain sacred ideas or beliefs. Many of these are around birth and death and sexuality, and we just have these sort of sacred ideas. Again, many of us have ideas about love and what someone will or won't do if they love someone else. And we have other ideas about the way the world should be structured, what government should do and shouldn't do, and all kinds of ideas, other ideas like that. Now, reality, or truth, really the same thing, really doesn't care what we humans think. We might think it's a travesty if the human race gets wiped off the face of the planet, and there may be nothing to convince us otherwise. But if we look at the planet as a whole and the health of the planet and the environment, it's very easy to make a logical argument that maybe human beings disappearing from this planet is the best thing that could happen to this planet. Now, I want you to hear me. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying that's true. But that's a kind of idea that we may feel very strongly about, that we may want to reject outright. And it actually may be true. So this is the point of today's talk. If we're really going to seek out truth, which is really the nature of a spiritual endeavor, is really to get in touch with truth, then we have to be willing to look at our sacred ideas and also to entertain ideas that we may have in the past found repulsive, or ideas that we really didn't want to embrace. And one way of implementing this practice is just to notice our own reactivity. If someone presents an idea to us and without thought, without thinking, without pause, we get upset, we start yelling and screaming, or even if we don't, we just get upset, we feel that contraction inside of us, then that's something we need to investigate, we need to look at. Instead, what we'd like is a very calm and cool ability to say, okay, that's an interesting idea. I'd like to hear more. What makes you hold this belief or idea? What evidence do you have in support of it? And I'm not saying that we need to change our mind about anything, or that someone else who has a different idea than ours is right or correct. But again, we want the freedom, the mental freedom and the mental capacity to be able to look at ideas objectively without getting triggered, without getting upset, without rejecting the ideas outright. And this again is a practice. So the next time that your uncle or your cousin or your parents or your grandparents or your boss or someone on the TV or someone else says something that you don't like, that you don't approve of, it doesn't mean automatically that it isn't true. And I would encourage you, as part of your practice, to pause and begin to examine what evidence do you truly have that you know for certain contradicts this idea. And sometimes ideas aren't such that only one perspective is correct. Very often we can find that multiple perspectives actually hold some truth or weight to them. So in the yoga tradition, there's a fairly famous parable where you have 4 or 5, 6 blind men that are holding different parts of an elephant. And one person is holding the trunk. And he says, oh, I'm holding a hose. Someone else is holding the leg of the elephant. And he says, oh, I'm holding a tree. Someone else is holding the tail. And they say, oh, I'm holding a rope. Well, none of these perspectives are right, although it's understandable why each blind person takes the perspective that they take. And so this is a great thing to think about when we hear other people's perspective and we just want to automatically outright reject their perspective. Generally speaking, people have reasons why they hold the beliefs that they hold. And very often there are good reasons. Again, ultimately, all of these people holding the elephant were ultimately wrong. But it's understandable. They were not stupid. Okay? They were not ignorant. They had reasons for holding the beliefs that they have. Likewise, we have our reasons. But what we're really interested in is truth, the ultimate truth, which ultimately is beyond words. It's not something that I can express to you here now, or I would. But truth, again, reality, they are the same. And reality and truth often do not align with what we human beings would like to believe and the way things that we would like them to be. But it's very important that we see things as they truly are, because that is very, very helpful for us in our journey. Seeing things as they are is really the first step to actually effectively making change. A lot of people can see that there are things that are wrong right now, right? Things that are wrong with the environment, things are wrong with politics, things that are wrong with men, things are wrong that are with women, things that are wrong all over the place with the way that the pandemic is being handled. All of these things, we see all these problems, all these things that are wrong. Well, a big thing is everyone's running around trying to fix these problems, but they're trying to fix them without really seeing the big picture and without really seeing things as they are. They're seeing them through the lens of their own conditioning, and they aren't willing to let go of that conditioning and that lens long enough to actually perceive things as they are. When we perceive things as they are, we find that we have peace and compassion arises naturally, and then we can move out into the world and create effective change. We can start doing right action, and we can come from a loving place. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, again, it's a huge help to give me a thumbs up, a like, to subscribe to my channel or Instagram, to join me on Patreon, and to leave a comment. All of these things help out and help me continue doing what I'm doing. I hope you're having a lovely day, and thank you for listening. Namaste.